Welcome everyone, this is Polly Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at Lezus and LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Sanswinda,
Hello.
Quarendis,
Hello, everyone.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello everyone. Tonight we have much to discuss because there was an update to the game this week, update 33.1. Which is all about the further adventures of Eladan and Elrohir. The special items are, first off, we have the arrival, as I've mentioned before, of the further adventures of Eladan and Elrohir, where soon after Frodo's rescue from the Fort of Bruinen, the scouts of Rivendell venture forth, seeking news on the enemy and his servants. Lord Elrond has given his sons Eladan and Elrohir a secret errand. Join the twins in their journey from Rivendell to the distant land of Lothlorien. Players can start further adventures by talking to Elrond in his library in Rivendell. Rewards can be exchanged with Calablir outside of the last homely house. So has anyone had a chance to play this yet?
I have not.
No, I have not.
Sounds like the twins aren't very popular this week.
There are other distractions.
Yes.
Yes. Further, yes.
I was just going to say that by the time I was getting ready to go ahead and hop in the game, I saw that there was some problems with repetition, and I had a kinmate that had problems with like his Bjorning started chapter 5, but the elves wouldn't talk to it and stuff like that. I'm just like, I think I'll wait until they iron out the details.
Yes. I think that the problem with chapter 5, because I noticed when I read the thread, it seemed like all the people that posted a complaint on it were all playing Bjornings at the time.
Ah.
So so there's a hypothesis going on that it's a Bjorning problem. I had no trouble with my warden in doing it.
There you go. Were they in man form or bear form? See,
the elves are trying to wiggle out of having to pay Grimbjorn back for staying at Bjorninghuis.
Oh, that's what it is all about.
I mean, really, when you think about it, those elves have been camping out on his front lawn for a while now.
Well, if you figure that they must be looking forward in time a bit, seeing how this takes place before the Fellowship sets out, and the elves camping on his lawn are after the ring is destroyed. They're preemptively doing it.
Their father is known for having visions.
Yes.
So your argument isn't going to work very well here, Pine.
All right, fine. And I take it that their grandmother isn't exactly known for being out of the loop either. So yes, we can then assume then that they're having some trouble with Bjornings or something like that, because apparently the Bjornings aren't able to do the last section. Now, I don't know if there's been an update on that and that the Bjorning thing is just a false lead and it's just random or something like that. But so far, I've only heard it with Bjornings, and Guerinda said that her friend managed to have it happen at the same time. Also with the Bjorning.
Yeah. He got to chapter 5. He's like, none of these elves will talk to me.
Yeah. They had no trouble talking to a hobbit. Now, there was one time where I thought that there was something wrong, but it turned out that even though it's possible to get to a certain point, I think it was in chapter 1, where we killed most of the mobs in the area, and Eladon looked like he was all ready to talk stuff like this, but no, he was just waiting for me to go and actually no, it was a cloak I had to interact with. So I needed to interact with something. But that thing would not be interactable until I killed that last mob that was way out in a corner somewhere. So I had to go hunt down the last mob in there, kill it, then come back, and then I was able to finish it. So that's a little tricky thing with chapter 1 is if you run up a little bit ahead, it's possible that you might miss a mob or two that you'll have to go back and kill again.
So happy. Oh, I was go ahead. I was gonna say. So, an empty dungeon is a happy dungeon, is a clean dungeon, etc., etc.
Yeah, clean dungeon is a happy dungeon.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious if you turned the quest in and then the quest giver said, "Hey, could you go back there, right next to the last guy you just found with something I need now?"
Unfortunately, it does happen too often, doesn't it?
Yes.
Anyway.
Like, do you need anything else while I'm over there?
Yes. Now, the other thing that, as I think I said, was that it cannot be repeated at this time. So you do have to take that into account. But really, is there anyone really needs to run it? I just wonder, do you really need to run it twice in the same day or twice in the same week? That someone on the same day that was released found out that you can only run it once.
How does that surprise you?
I don't know. I guess somebody wanted that reward.
People are the new level, if they have a level increase, people are the new level within 5 minutes of the update.
Yes.
Like, what? Hey.
Yeah, that does happen a bit, doesn't it?
Well, somebody's working towards their weekly and they want to do the story adventures rather than the other missions.
Well, yes, I guess there's always that one. Is that you're working on your weekly and you decide, all right, let's run this a couple of times. I guess you have a point there. Now, there are 5 chapters in this. I went into this not being sure how many chapters are because the Further Adventures of Bilbo was 10 chapters long. With Eldad Elra here, it's 5 chapters long, though some of the chapters could be a little bit on the lengthy side.
Exactly. If you have twins, it's half the chapters. That's a general rule of writing. So.
Yes. Anyway, the Further Adventures of Eladon and Elro here. Also, there are updates on the PvP front where experience the thrill of player versus player combat with new PvP options. You can become a monster player after your main character reaches level 2. If you wish to fight on the side of the heroes, you can ride your character to the Atmores at level 20, where you will be scaled up to better handle the carnage. Audacity is now essential for survival in the Entomores. As you reach level 140, you will acquire more audacity and gear to better handle the fight. A full list of changes and updates for PvP in the Entomores will be described in the PvP section, which we'll describe later. But anyway, that's little thing, just saying PvP changes. I guess we'll have any discussion on PvP when we get to that section. So, quick poll, anyone actually do any PvP this week?
No. I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out, though. But I was never a big Wars person anyways. I'm very nervous, so when I get out there, I'm just constantly, it's like I've had five cups of coffee. I'm scared, mainly.
Okay.
Although I don't know why. Nobody's, for the longest time, I think the Moors have been an extremely safe place to go, so...
Well, I did watch a stream from somebody playing Freepside on Arkenstone, and They seem to be doing just fine. There was some focus on the fact that the monster players kept going out and on a coordinated hit someplace else where they weren't fiddling at the time, and then back to Grams. And they're complaining "Oh, I want to get the kills." It's like I'm thinking, we always do that on Monster side. Why are you complaining?
That's the whole point. Hit and run, right? So
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I play a warg so I can sneak around better.
Yeah, that was the only way I could do Monster, was to play a warg, because I had to be able to stealth and run away. So that was.
It's really fun if you get a whole group of them going. That's
fun. Yeah. Some of the I remember some of the just epic engagements, just right at Graham's Foot and the fortress in between that, and all the craziness, and trying to escape out the back of the fortress, and everybody's down there fighting, and that was a blast. It was a lot of fun to do. So
yeah,
hopefully we see a revitalization of that. Now, so where were you watching something that was recent, like after the changes?
Or yeah.
Okay.
Bloodborne was out on Thursday night, I think, on his stream. So yeah, I was watching that. I really appreciate Blood. He's at least one of those kind of YOLO Leroy Jenkins. He'll just run in and start attacking people. He goes, what the heck? And he's running down the hill, and he goes, and now they're all going to target me. And yep, there I died. but he's just doing it in good fun. But yeah, they were running about and went in the delvings for a while, and
so it sounds like it was pretty active, but I think Ark and Stone PvP is generally more active than ours.
Yes, Ark is very, very active compared to Land Reval.
All right. So sometimes with PA, people talk about their PvP experiences. I sometimes think they should change the name to PVW. Player versus Ward.
Oh no, there was a lot of war leaders and Black Arrows running around with the new armor on. I think they were enjoying that.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a whole group of them just kind of running the crazy beings they are.
Then let's head to news and noteworthy. The dynamically scaling stats on the following items have been adjusted to be more appropriate across all levels, increasing above level 130, Shields of the Hammerhand, Earrings of the High Elves, Earrings of the Dead City, and Fateful Gunabot Earring. And the stat granted on the following traits have been adjusted to be more appropriate across all levels and increased to some levels 130, the Man of the Fourth Age, Hobbit Stature, Fateful Dwarf, Friend of Man, Emissary, Unwritten Destiny, and Those Who Remain. And I was checking out the earrings on my brawler, who is currently, say, about 80. I think I just hit 83. And yes, the stats were sweet on those earrings, because I wasn't wearing the earrings at the time because I had Quest Reward earrings that were better at the moment, but I looked at them and said, put back in the earrings.
And see, I compared mine, and I'm probably going to stick with what I have in right now, although I grabbed them from Ember's crates, but they're teal, because of what they're giving me a lot of extra. But if I was trying Hidden Horde again, I might be tempted to put those back in, because there's a lot of mitts on them.
Ooh. So yes, we've had some improvements then to those items. Now, of course, I have a lot of characters that don't have I think I discussed that during the Bullroar time phase, where I have several characters who have destroyed their earrings because they hit the level where they're no good anymore. So the question comes up is it worth /recover?
That's a dangerous question.
Yes.
So my mild hoarding tendencies have stood me in good stead at this point in time. I at least kept those.
Yeah. So that's it for our news and events on there. And for events, the Treasure Bugan event, the Treasure Bugan base spawn chance now is 75%, an increase from 25 to 33%. So that means whenever you enter a dungeon, you have a 75% chance that there will be a Bugan in there. The Theodore Gross's Lucky Feather item has been changed. It now guarantees that a Treasure Bugan will spawn when used in a qualifying instance. Now, I did hear someone complain that they had the feather, but it didn't spawn. But since I don't know the rest of the details, I don't know if I can't 100% say sure whether that is a bug or if it was a case where they misunderstood something. But these last 90 minutes, but they expire in real time. So that sounds like a bit of a nerf on that end. So it looks like they boosted it to give you a, well, I know because probably, I don't know what it increased it to before. Because it used to be 25 to 33%, and it used to double your chances to 50 to 66%. 75% is, oh, it only has 25% to it. Anyway, it can no longer be purchased for coins of Bugan. That means you have to buy it with Mithril. And it's an increase from 5. So apparently it used to be, what was it? Did it used to be 5 Mithril or some coins of the Bugan, or did it used to be 5 coins of the Bugan? I'm not too sure which one it is on that. But it now costs 10 Mithril coins. So,
See, Pine Leaf, I'm sorry, but that's exactly how they get you. Okay, I put $10,000 into Chuck E. Cheese tokens, and when I did, I learned I can't spend them unless I'm at Chuck E. Cheese. So that's exactly what those Boffin coins are. I knew they were going to be worthless. It's like, oh, you get the Boffin coin, but to buy this, you're going to have to pay Mithril. Okay, I'm telling you, man, the Boogans are everywhere taking our money. What is going on? There's some kind of Boogan conspiracy.
well,
They are Boogans.
yes.
How do you think they got those little packs full of coins?
Yeah. Most
Yeah,
likely.
but where are they all coming from? I mean, at first, I thought we just had, there was a couple little villages of them out there.
It's a secret.
Where
There's
are
a
they coming from?
There's a special Boogan mint factory, and it has entrances in all of these places, and that's why the Boogans are trying to get out with the mint, the currency. But you know,
It's like every coin, every new coin spawns another Boogan.
something like that.
Oh, diabolical! That sounds like a Leprechaun movie level plot right there, isn't it?
So, in any case, I think overall that it'll rarely be worth it to get a lucky feather because I mean, if you got a 75% chance of getting a Bugan anyway, is it worth 10 mithril points to just make it a guarantee?
Yeah.
And 10 mithril coins? Yeah, that sounds like a lot of mithril coins just to have 90 minutes of guaranteed Bugans. For the daily quest, seeking the treasure Bugans has been updated. Now requires you to slay 3 treasure Bugans instead of 4. Now offers the following rewards: 400 VXP, a picker box of basic crafting materials, and 1 treasure Bugans cache, which offers the choice of the following: 3 enhancement runes, incomparable; sealed tracery, incomparable; universal optional ingredient, universal solvent, and picker box of crafting shards. Alright, and I haven't finished that yet. I think I need to run a couple more times so that I could actually get 3 Boogans on a character. We'll have to see about that. And also, the once per event quest, Thwarting the Treasure Boogans, now offers the following rewards: 2,000 VXP, crate of crafting materials, 1 treasure Bugan's cache, which offers a choice of the following: enhancement runes ×3 incomparable, seal trace 3 incomparable, universal optional ingredient, universal solvent, and picker box. That sounds very, very. Isn't that the same thing that you got from the other? All right, so you get an extra one, I guess, for doing the once per event. Now, I don't know what you need to do in order to get the once per event. Is it something that where you have to complete the daily 3 times or something like that? In which case, you need to get on with it. Because I think the event ends on Tuesday or something like that. So anyway, the Bugan event lasts about maybe 5 or 6 days or something around like that. And so it's a limited time in which to be able to go and thwart those Bugans. Now, has anyone actually done much on this?
I generally avoid Bugans. I'm
Okay.
not a Bugan fan, but I do really like the concept of measuring Bugans in time. I liked your concept of 90 minutes worth of Bugans. So it's like, if you guys encountered some Bugans, how many? 30 minutes worth.
All right. Let's then go into class changes. Oh, and first off, we have the Brawler. Quite a number of changes here. I really need to reread these about 3 or 4 times in order to understand all the changes that are going on in here.
Yeah, I think the Brawlers lost their self-heal, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I might have mentioned that 3 or 4 times. Or I should say that Redline Brawlers lost their, because they actually, what they did is they moved it to the blue line.
Gotcha.
So if you're tanking, I guess it's useful to have a self-heal, but then you're more likely to have a minstrel that's paying attention to you if you are tanking also. But anyway, as for Brawler changes, Brawlers now have a visible proficiency skill in the skills panel for Battle Gauntlets. Okay, I guess that's just what we needed. Fist of the Valor base damage increased to be more in line with other metal spenders. Alright. Follow Me is no longer an attack speed buff. It is now a group combat run speed buff, increasing speed by 20% for 15 seconds. In other words, charge! Or I guess it can also be used for run away! And Come At Me has several updates. Now fast rather than immediate to mitigate a skill cancellation issue encountered during periods of lag. Taunt duration is increased from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Base damage count increased from 5 to 10. And, when Bellicose is utilized, Come At Me will now generate metal even if no targets are hit. Alright, that's fine. I haven't used it all that much, so I really don't know Come At Me all that, because I haven't done much tanking on a Brawler yet. Now comes the one I was complaining about earlier, and that's Weather Blows has had several updates. Now an incoming damage set effect that will no longer stack with other incoming damage buffs. Base value has been set to 35%, -6 for trait, and -9 for metal to a max of 20%. Last 15 seconds with a 75-second cooldown. It feels forever. Note that this still acts as a separate multiplier for standard armor damage mitigation, and the instant heal component has been moved to Bracing Guard. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that they took away our self-heal. Because Bracing Guard is now the main self-heal that you have in there.
Yeah, that's too bad. I would think in Red Line you'd want a self heal just because that would be think a desired solo line.
Yes. So yes, so I had a little bit of problem due to that little thing. On my lower level brawler, I am starting to dip my toe into blue line a little bit to see if I can get the to be able to get the bracing guard so that I could have a self heal back. We'll see how that operates. Gut punch no longer reduces the target's outgoing damage, but now increases damage by 20% for 20 seconds. This skill has a short cooldown, but a given target cannot be affected by it for 70 seconds after the effect wears off. Right? Innate strength buffs use shorter animations of 1.5 second reduced to 1 second. Several other buffs have had their animations shortened or reduced for display only. Many brawlers buffs were still using placeholder effect icons. Many of these have been replaced with more diverse set of effect icons for clarity. Most brawler group buffs now have a radius of 15 meters, up from 10 meters. Most brawler group buffs will now affect raid members. Vulnerability has had its base debuff increased from 1% to 3%. Item set bonuses to the effect have been increased similarly. Rash Invitation has had its range increased from 25 to 40 meters. The Iron Wheel skill was redundant to weather blows. It has been replaced by the Best Defense. This skill buffs the Fellowship's damage by 30% for 15 seconds and has a 120-second cooldown. Strong Jaw and Nimble Feet no longer refer to Iron Will. Yeah, I don't remember Iron Will all that much, which probably tells you how much it's that people worried about it. And using the best defense now overwrites previous active instances. The Armor of Nature Striker's 2 set bonus has been changed to a plus 5% melee damage. Other brawlers share innate strength skills should no longer overwrite your own. So those are all the changes to the brawler. And even though I've been playing one quite a bit recently, I think half of them I'm saying, what? Over on Champions, the Hidden Horde Storm 4 set bonus buff increased critical ratings duration should no longer be affected by the Great Cleave duration tracery. I have a feeling that's a bit of a nerf if I'm understanding that properly. For Lore Masters, pets can no longer be renamed many times in a short period of time.
There's got to be a story behind that.
Yes, there's got to be a story behind that one.
Yeah.
I mean, were people doing insults with it, or was someone changing their name so often that was overloading a buffer somewhere, or what? Because that's certainly not something that someone would have randomly changed, unless there was some trouble that was a result.
Well, that's what it feels like. It's somebody got annoyed by somebody doing it, as opposed to it actually being some kind of program problem. It's like, oh, that guy renamed his dog 25 times. We've got to stop this madness.
Yeah. I guess I don't pay enough attention to the pet names to be bothered by someone doing that. Of course, I don't usually use floating names, so maybe that's the reason on that. Blue Line Capstone trait set bonus tutelage of the Brown Wizard no longer references Sikkim. And Essence of the Beast no longer affects Sikkim, now reduces the cooldown of a Murderer Crows by 5 seconds on proc. And on the Hunter, the upshot damage tracery no longer erroneously double applies to devastate hits. And that is it for class changes. Most of these were affecting the Brawler. And now time for PvP. Now we did a little bit of talking about this earlier, so now let's see what the changes are. Beginning at level 20, free people classes can ride into the Etmors. Whether or not that's a good idea, of course, is a completely different story. Free people players entering the Etmors from levels 120 to 129 will scale to 140 and have 25 Audacity until level 120. Then that Audacity is reduced by one rank level until level 130, where it reaches 0. So I presume then that this Audacity that the purpose of this extra Audacity was to give the scaling characters a little bit of a boost. 4 new tasks have been added to the Etmors for free peoples and monster players, including a base task to defeat 5 members of the opposition and 3 meta tasks to complete the base task a number of times for a greater reward. And to obtain these tasks, you must purchase the task starter from the barter vendors in Landreich for free peoples and Gransfoot for monster players. The combinations cap has been increased to 20,000. Now, they say 4 new tasks have been added. Were there tasks before, or is this the first time that there have been tasks in the PvP zones?
I suppose that depends on if you count quests that are repeatable as tasks. Like, if
really
these are
don't.
tasks that are different because they're like the task board, then that would be the first time.
All right. Yeah, I didn't mean the things like the daily quests or anything like that, or whatever kinds of
Or at
quests
least
they
the
have.
first time in a very long time. I guess I wasn't here from the very beginning, so I can't speak to that, but...
Well, if you go way back to the very beginning, then you go back to before tasks even existed. I know the last time I did PvP, there was certainly no concept of PvP tasks.
Since back in the old times, we had to dismount our horses before we could go to the booths.
Fair.
Just an FYI.
And you probably still didn't get war seeds at level 5.
Oh no, you worked your entire life to save up for a broken horse, then typically got robbed just before you bought it.
Hey, well, back in the early days, actually, you had to be level 30 just to get a regular mount.
Ouch.
Yeah.
You played for 3 years before you accumulated 1 gold.
Well, yeah, that, and I think it cost more than 1 gold in order to buy a horse, though.
It did. That's what was so brutal. I thought it was like 4 gold or something. It was
Yeah.
something
It
where
was...
you just like, oh my goodness.
Now, I should note something concerning tasks that we were talking about earlier, is that there is a message saying that we have temporarily disabled the 3 new battle tasks in PvP due to a bug. We will have them back in the near future. So even though they did add 3 these new tasks, apparently they have been turned off for now. So don't get your hopes up of there being any tasks when you enter into the wars at this time. And also, actually, this says 4 new tasks have been added, and the
3 meta tasks, which to me almost sounds
3
like a rapper almost, doing it.
the 3
And
new...
I wonder if it's the rapper one type of thing or the meta task one that, I don't know. I'd have to hop in and see.
Okay. Yes, right. They also added 3 meta tasks. Yeah, so it could be the meta tasks that were causing lag. Now, I don't know how they cause lag, but well, lag comes in some weird places these days.
Maybe it's everybody trying to complete them while in a raid and it's not working. And so then more and more people pile up.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Monster players. All monster player classes are free to all players and available once a player completes a new player experience or increases a free people's character level to 2 within the game world. In an effort to provide newly minted monster players with more survivability in the intervals, we've made changes to the starting skill loadouts for monster player characters. We have reduced the rank necessary to obtain all monster player skills. All monster players complete their kits at rank 5, and acquiring the rank gated appearance remains in place. Acquiring the first map to Gransput is necessary to monster play. The map is now rewarded on a revised version of the new player quest taking place almost entirely within Gransput. All corruption trait slots are now available at monster players without an added LOTRO point cost, and reduce the cost to slot all monster skills, corruptions, appearances, and racial ability.
That's kind of funny though, because by the end you'll have like 500 gold and be like, there's nothing to spend this on. It'll help with the newest characters though, like don't get me wrong, that's gonna be really great for new characters. But I still think we need sofa pits or something to spend that gold on later.
Oh well, you still want to go to those sulfur pits.
Of course.
Well, you think about it this way too. Okay, now, Sans, if we took that money and we invested it in, for instance, SAR 1K, you're thinking about your retirement at that point. It's a good investment. And imagine how much money that the buying power of all of the monster players together, 500 gold each.
Oh yeah, like I think we should have like an auction house and some cool monster stuff, like sofas that the wargs can chew up. It would be great.
Oh,
But we'll see.
a gigantic Kong, just mount a gigantic Kong in the middle of the.
So you're not looking for sofa pits. You're looking for pitted sofas.
Well, no, I'm looking for sofas I can put pits into.
Okay. All right.
That may or may not be in a pit full of sofas.
Yes. Audacity. Audacity has been revised to improve PvP player experience. Audacity now has 36 levels. Monster players gain Audacity by spending commendations into the virtue. Free peoples gain Audacity by spending gold and commendations to acquire armor and jewelry with Audacity. Audacity gear for free peoples is bound by rank, and crowd control has been reduced to 5% at rank 1 and scales to 60% reduction at rank 36. A new item, Tincture of Audacity, is available from barter vendors from monster players and free peoples. Benefit is 5 Audacity potions, which can stack up to 10 with a duration of 60 minutes each, and sold in stacks of 1, 5, and 10, cost 200, 1,000, and 2,000 combinations respectively for 10, 35, 70 mithril coin. Let's see. No 6-packs, just 1, 5, and 10.
Yeah, and not available for gold either. Sofa training dummies. That's what it should be for monster players. They're like technically training dummies, but they are in the shape of sofas. And like the more you beat them up, the more it looks like you've taken chunks out of them. Sorry, it was just an idea that came to me. Continue.
Yes. Audacity follows a linear progression track along 3 axes: crowd control, duration reduction, incoming damage modifier, and outgoing damage modifier. And those are the PvP changes. Anyone have anything they wish to add relating to PvP? I'll take that as a no. So let's go into combat, where they fixed a bug that reduced the player's mastery slightly against lower level foes. And Pets can no longer be in the aggressive stance, which has been removed. Pets set to an aggressive stance have been reset to the guard stance.
I wish I did. Do we have any reasoning behind that change?
I can only think that there were lots of complaints about people over their overly aggressive pets.
Well, then that's upon the pet owner to adjust their pet settings as opposed to punishing all pet owners everywhere.
Well, maybe the complaints weren't coming from the pet owners, but from the raid leaders that had the pet owners in their raids.
Maybe I'm like trying to think. I have very rarely had like any annoyance with pets on aggressive though.
Well, we've had some classic situations.
There've been some
but
interesting situations that have happened.
But typically, the solution is you just set your pet to passive.
Right.
Problem solved at that point.
And I haven't had it like ever be like, oh man, this gaming experience is so rough tonight because somebody's pet was on aggressive and accidentally pulled the next room. Like that always just makes things more exciting. But yeah. So I'm trying to like imagine like maybe there were areas where somebody's pet on aggressive was making life miserable for other people because they weren't able to kill the mobs they needed to kill.
Well, what was funny about that one, Sans, is that
but I don't think I've ever seen
Horde,
that happen.
Well, in Hidden Horde, we had that very problem because you face into this one fight, and if the pets were set to aggressive or defensive, and I really think it's because there's a frost. What is it? Frost Grim? Yeah, it's a Grim that's stationary but can still hit us. And I think once it hits us, even if it's on defensive, it's going to go and attack that thing eventually. So what was happening was you'd be fighting. We'd get this fight at the base of the stairs done, and then suddenly the two groups from upstairs, where we would try to pull them separately, come down in a gigantic wave. And we realized that somebody's pet had gone up there and triggered those ads, and so it was. So I could see where that could have happened enough.
This fix doesn't actually fix that particular problem, but maybe that's why people were frustrated.
That's the only. That's limited. The only thing I could think of, but there might be other raids or instances where having an aggressive pet was causing problems. But still, just taking the aggressive stance away is just kind of. It just feels weird to me. But it also doesn't allow you to do stuff. There's times where you could set it too aggressive. Run into a low-level area where everything's gray, and your ghost just slaughters everything automatically.
Yeah, I think that some lore masters were using it so they could play the game AFK, and that might be the reason. Because I know that Standing Stone does not like people playing the game AFK.
Well, that's true. But
in other words, getting credit for stuff while they're away from their keyboard.
Fair enough, but that sounds like I would be stunned if a majority of people were doing that.
I mean, they could just make it so you time out faster if that was the problem.
Yeah, that's a good idea. If your pet is aggressive and you're AFK, you're locked out immediately.
Disappear.
I have an interesting take on this that they possibly didn't consider. I know of people in Lonely Mountain Band, and they recently had Weatherstock, which had to be moved to the Breland Festival grounds because of the leg was so bad on Weatherstock, but on top of Weathertop for Weatherstock, which is another thing. But a lot of times there's security to keep like the Carbine from attacking low-level characters. They use their pets on aggressive. They would station themselves just so that the pets would cover a certain amount of area and run and get anything that would spawn. And now they don't have that. They're either going to have to change the way they do their security, have more people. I don't know what. Not that it mattered this year, because like I said, the lag was so bad they actually had to relocate the venue. Probably something you're not going to see anywhere else on here, but yeah, it was honestly that bad. And this was their 14th year, I think, doing Weatherstock. Never have had to do that before, even when the Runekeeper helped crash the server because he healed everybody on top of it, all 200 and some that one year. That was before my time. That's why Runekeeper heals got nerfed a long time ago. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that it's like I understand why they're doing them, but the players had found ways of making like events safer by using lore masters for security, and now that's going to be gone too.
I tried to think how is it that Weathertop had lag, but some other area didn't. That's the thing
Well,
that I'm trying to.
it's Weathertop has always been notorious with Weatherstock. Evidently, Druid's Fire talked about when she had visited there. They showed her kind of like the bells and whistles beneath the world type of thing. There's a lot of zones and things that meet up at that point, and a
Oh,
lot of things going on underneath that you don't see on the landscape or but yeah, we've had problems. They say they're working on it, but we've had so many problems with lag all over the server, and at a very intense point where there's classically been problems anyway, it just did not work at all this year.
ah, okay. And then that takes care of. So yes, so little things about the aggressive stance. Then yes, that could be a bit of an impact on Weatherstock if you're going to be holding that on Weathertop. So then let's go into the next area: quests and adventure areas. Sarisuma, frozen whites in a particular area. In the instance, Sarisuma should no longer spawn over level. Right? That's good news, I guess. And in the Shire, the frills in the Rushuk Bog have been adjusted to no longer float. Some river banks in Benbow Wood has been smoothed out to look more realistic. And a few caves in the Boulstones have had their physics adjusted to be more accurate. Over in the Yondershire, several Yondershire interiors now have more appropriate ambience for their environment. The upset hobbits in the gazebo. Actually, now I think of that, because I think there were some areas that had the sound in them that made it sound like you're in the middle of a tavern, even though you were not in a tavern at the time. So maybe
Whoa.
that's what, because I think I heard Corey Olson even commenting on one of those where we were hearing tavern sounds inside something that was not a tavern. So maybe that's what they're talking about there. The upset hobbit in the gazebo in No Bottle should no longer find themselves disappearing under its floor. Maybe the gazebo was hungry. The radar now correctly directs players in the direction of local towns. Well, that's nice. Grounded the sprung net, for instance, springing the grand plan. The quest item in tying the knots has been corrected to spool of rope, because that makes sense. The red flag spots in the Tale of Ashenfell now have the correct tooltip. A land seam present in a mountain has been smoothed out. A resource node between Longcleave and Novato that was in a river gorge is now in a more accessible location. And Hobbit children that can be questioned during the quest, the Wayward Child, can no longer be questioned after you completed the quest. I guess they were complaining about people constantly asking them questions. Parts of the landscape that were erroneously changed due to object replacement for Gundabad have now been fixed, reverting them to appropriate appearances for their bio. Rocks in the Falconer's Tower in the North Downs have been adjusted to use local native rock. Felbeasts can no longer break free of the roost and spawn in the landscape. Well, that's good to hear. Forsting in Gundabad has been repositioned slightly to no longer fall through the floor. Sure they're happy about that. And the prologue emissary quest has had its reward of a will bracelet replaced with a vitality bracelet. And miscellaneous Z fighting in Madugard has been resolved, because we don't want those Zs fighting each other, right? Then let's head into housing. In the Greenland homesteads, hooks in 8 Long Street and 6 Chestnut Street now align correctly with the terrain. The sign in the fence of 3 High Road has been lifted out of the ground, and a stretched texture in the garden of 8 Long Street has been smoothed. Wait, 8 Long Street was certainly having a great number of property problems. I guess they were complaining to the HOA or something. Ambient music now works on the exterior of 5 Cape Road in Belfast. The doormat at 1 Philly Lane in Kingstead now aligns correctly with the terrain, and visiting bankers and barbers can now be placed in yard hooks in Erebor. And as for cosmetic pets, the White Goose cosmetic pet now correctly appears in the collections panels. So it's no longer as bad a goose as it was before. There are also several localization updates to the French and German clients, where they updated the D title for completing the Legendary Sentinels challenge in German, fixed translations of clothes in the tracking UI for the passages of foes, passage of natures, passage of shadows, and toma tracking, changing firmer to okay. I can't pronounce French. Why should I even try? Oh, they're like, oh, pro, whatever. Yes, and German and French updated the map translations for the Cape of Belfast and Cape of Belfast homesteads in French and German. Updated map translations for the Gondor regional maps, and updated translations that use characters, ancestry, and class such as titles to better function in French and in German. And as for NPCs and vendor changes, the Farmer's Fair cosmetic categories for Khalsa tunneling have been rearranged to be in the correct order. Additionally, the other category is now being listed last. Festival vendors now have a profile of essences rather than essences and legendary items, since the obsolete legendary items have been already removed. And the Forge Masters and Relic Masters have been removed. If you have a combined legendary item service vendor, they are now a Forge Master exclusively. Any Relic Master that used to be Bestow Quest has been turned into a Forge Master so as not to break the quests. And these remaining Relic Masters, now Forge Masters, are in Southbury, Gundabad, in Rivendell, and in Thorn's Gate. And the Relic Master function has been removed from the Town Services item. And relics and shards will not be usable or convertible into Li2 ingredients. In other words, relics and shards are now completely useless. Forge Masters in Rivendell and Thorns Hall can now be used to reforge outside of Volume 2 Book 1 quest sequence. Any comments on any of these changes?
Spent a lot of gold on those shards.
Yeah.
Yes. Lots and lots of
Thinking
gold.
About millions and millions of shards have just been rendered.
I know. We were thinking, well, maybe they could at least have given us one
and nothing we had to do ourselves either. Nothing proactive. Nothing that we had to, or I'm sorry, nothing that we had to manually execute anything to get. You guys should just, if you're going to take them away, just straight convert them for us. Give us whatever bonus we get the next time we log in. But I have a feeling that this was a conspiracy. They're collecting all those shards. And I'm just going to say, everybody should observe the quality of their Daleman's crayons for the next couple months. And if they get extra crunchy, we'll know where those shards have gone. Okay.
No, I thought the Boogans took them all.
Oh, don't get me started on the Boogans.
Yeah, I was going to suspect the Boogans of
the event's not going to end
them.
next Tuesday. The event's going to begin next Tuesday because that is maximum Bugan penetration, maximum Bugan saturation. The Boogans are going to be everywhere by that point. And they're just all going to come out, and all their treasures are probably going to explode.
You're talking about them like they're tribbles.
And then if we hit them with water, they'll multiply, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gremlins.
Okay, so keep the Boogans and their relics outside of grain silos, and we'll be fine, right?
Take the Boogans bowling.
Let's go into the miscellaneous changes. Minor improvements to the reward track messaging for IXP runes. Instance and skirmish chests will no longer drop heritage runes. What?
Rude. I guess the Boogans took those too.
Okay, look, is there anything left
No.
with skirmishes? I mean, they've taken away the relics. And it goes, we have been collecting relics in these chests for how long now? Oops, sorry, relics are now completely useless. They're out of the game. Bye, 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 bye.
Well, and now if you want to get a large, I love this. If you want to get a large expedition of warriors and brave hearts together to go raiding, you can't collect nothing, you do nothing, and you can't complete anything.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Yes. Obsolete relic packages have been removed from several instances and raids. Ill Omen's Essence bounty packages that have not yet been used can now be used by characters above level 130. They will grant a level 130 Essence selection package to any characters level 130 or higher. Remembered Rivals feature instance gear now binds to account rather than to character. Raid groups playing on landscape will no longer benefit from open tapping and will also no longer receive gold, loot, XP, reputation, quest advancement, or deed advancement from monster kills on landscape. And that is what Krister was referring to a moment ago.
What in the world are they thinking?
Yeah, that's the one that is absolutely... I'm just trying to figure out a parallel to it. And what I love is I just recently watched the Viking series. And so I'm just trying to say, how are you going to sell a raid where you can't get anything, you can't collect any loot, you don't get any bonuses, and you don't advantage in any way? No Viking's going to come with you on that raid, you know?
Yes. The first time I heard this, I say, well, they must have an exclusion for raid quests, right?
Cordovan says they do. They're just mark them now as fellowship quests.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
You can have no more than 5 friends. Sorry, guys. The 6th person in your friend group shows up and you have to say, see ya. Not enough room.
I'm stupendously baffled by that, and I don't really understand it at all. I think it's a real bizarre change. And
like, if this was a single-player game, I could understand being excited that I could play with 5 of my friends, even if we all had to be in the same room. But this is, like, supposed to be a massively multiplayer game where I can play with a lot of friends all at once.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole
I
point.
Can meet new friends and form big groups with them. Like,
I understand. I'm guessing that they're trying to deal with people farming, like one person multi-boxing and getting a whole bunch of like LOTRO points, whatever, by farming things. But it kind of I was going to say, but it kind of kills the idea of like putting together kin events to work on deeding, or
Well, it
yeah, I mean,
totally
it
kills
just
that. And it didn't work that way before. So, like, if I wanted to multi-box, say I decided that I wanted to try to kill my computer by running 24 accounts at the same time. I don't think it would even load all of them. But let's say I managed to get a computer that did this. I would have to manage to get at least one person from each of those fellowships to attack the thing that we were attacking before it died in order for anybody in those fellowships to get credit. So realistically, without more people helping, that's not likely to work anyway, because a high-level character would one-shot a mob, giving credit only to their fellowship. So I'm not sure, like, I don't think this, like, if that's their problem, if their problem is, oh no, we have people who are trying to multi-box 24 characters on a computer, which, by the way,
Yeah, how many
why?
of those people are we talking about? One?
Right? Like, I don't know very many people who have computers that would even possibly sustain that. But even if that's their goal, this doesn't solve the problem because they couldn't have done that successfully anyway with the old system. Does that make sense? Like, one person killing things did not give credit to people outside of that fellowship. Unless there
Right.
was somebody
Right.
actively participating in the kill in one of the other fellowships, and then that fellowship would also get it. So I don't think this even solves that problem if that was their problem. I mean, like, maybe it encourages people to not try to multi-box 24 characters. But
I guess if it was that kind of, I guess those decisions frustrate me. But the majority of people do not do that, and so it's
like, the majority
why
of
are
people
you
don't do
punishing?
it.
Yeah, why are you punishing the majority of people that do not do these activities?
And even if they did do those activities, they would still only be getting credit in their fellowship for, like, every fourth thing that they shot. Like, I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, I'm wondering and imagining if all these changes are part of some kind of larger plan. And I'm hoping it's not that one day we log in and it's Candy Crush or something, you know. So
Maybe the larger plan is that this is going single player, and they're going to give us the cheat codes, and we can ride Dragok as a mount and fly through the air. I mean, it seems like they're trying to get rid of all the multiplayer stuff.
The Wrath of Khan?
Or at least
yeah, that's
greatly
really
reduce it. So maybe.
yeah, maybe that's reduced load.
Oh, you know
Maybe
what?
it's
Yeah. Oh, I remember that was a funny incident that we had last night where I was getting my brawler ready for last night's raid, which I'm sure there'll be more talk about this later. And of course, I was, before going into a raid, what's the first thing you do? You visit Wenda. Oh, drop group, finish, complete quest. Now, so the practice of logging people in as soon as they load in, if you're working on a raid, isn't going to work because most likely if someone is just logging in, the first thing they want to do is visit Wenda, and if you just invite them to a raid, they're not going to be able to get their item from her.
Like, this more than.
It's okay.
So yeah, a few annoyances here, that's for sure.
This is, like, more than a few annoyances. This is, like, going out of their way to make annoyances.
Yeah, it's just the.
Well, the thing that I'm thinking is just like, how many of you guys are actually playing this? How many devs are actually playing the game and understand how players go about things? Like logging in for a raid, you get raided up, and while people are picking up their things from Wenda, switching their gear if for some reason they needed to, I mean,
Some people are still finishing some deeds because they can while they're waiting for everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, except not anymore because now, as soon as you're in the raid, you can't do anything.
Okay.
But, like,
I think that's an interesting way, because what if it is purely a kind of a resource decision that they're doing, which is we need to make sure we need to get it down so each user only is using this much of our memory and this much of our storage at a time. How do we do this? Oh, well, we can generally reduce their groups or discourage bigger groups, and maybe that's an interesting thing too, because then of course you don't care really what the outcome is for the end users. You're making these changes because you're going to meet your metric.
Well, I just keep thinking that if they are actually playing in those kind of groups, maybe there would at least be some explanations for all of us playing the game why they're making these decisions. It would be nice.
See, they need a show called Undercover Gamer where the developer has to play their own game.
and has to join, like, different sized groups of players to experience it their way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, dungeon.
Yeah, because I think because Cordovan, most of his rating experience is in DDO, not on LOTRO side. So
Well, and
So
of course,
maybe
just
none
to
of them
understand
raid?
it, I
Like,
guess just to understand it.
maybe none of them went and hunted Nazgul in groups, or died
Yeah, I
horribly
don't
to
know
the
how
Witch
that
King.
one's going.
they'll have
Like,
I don't know how
to. They're going to have
that's
to
gonna work.
nerf. They're going to have to nerf the Nazgul down into a fellowship size. That's the only way they could do anything with it.
Which kind of
unless that
defeats
counts
the
as an
idea of them being great big
instance.
bad mobs. If
I mean, I guess it's kind of funny if the Nazgul are, like, total
pushovers.
weaklings. But, like,
Excuse me, I'm gonna grab your sheet and go whoop, and then you're gone.
I mean, that would be kind of funny if that was the new way of defeating them. You just write up and there's this button, push X to defeat them.
Short shooting
All right,
Nazgul.
the shortcut to Pants and Nazgul is.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Hey, who
I feel
replaced my
like
robe
this-
with the Canadian flag?
I feel like this trivializes landscape content, though, pretty significantly. Or is going to force them to have to, because you can't bring very many friends to help you.
Well, you just have to run around individually.
Well, what you have to do is you can't use the in-game chat. Instead, you have a Discord and you have all these separate fellowships that are.
Maybe we can have an add-on that provides the functionality that raids used to. You can, like, all
I
see
think
each
angry
other's dots
loners came up with these changes.
and chat with each other. I don't know.
No, I have that one.
Well,
I have that one.
Well, I guess we can see how it's going to play out, but baffling. I guess I'm just baffled.
And if they were
Yes.
trying to fix the mini-maps, it didn't work.
I actually have that
Because
one.
the dots all wandered off my screen, even with only 3 of us. And then when we got to the full fellowship, they were still wandering off my mini-maps. So it did
Sans,
not fix that issue.
with the resolution I've got, because I've got effectively a 8K monitor, I can see the dot like wander way off, like way off, like to my right monitor. It's just hysterical. It's like
It like just takes off outside the mini-map and just starts going across the screen. And I can only imagine how much better that would be on a much bigger screen.
it is pretty funny. Yeah, I love LOTRO. I've been playing it forever, so it's just if the changes make sense, I'm there. If it's towards bigger goal, then I'm willing to see it. But
changes
I'm
like
having a
this
hard time with it.
with no goal
Yeah,
are
Yeah,
really
it's just-
frustrating.
Sure.
if it ain't
Especially when
broke,
it makes
don't
my
change
life
it.
more frustrating.
Yeah.
You're just a mom.
Oh well.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
so I get the impression that this particular change is not very popular
That would be correct.
All right. Let's go on unless somebody has anything that's essential to say about this topic before we go.
One thing. If you are trying to turn in a quest and it's not turning in and you think maybe you've lagged out completely, double check that you're not in a raid even accidentally before you decide to reboot your machine.
Yes. Yeah. Continuing on, Remembered Rivals feature instance gear now binds to account rather than to character. I guess that's one good thing. Raid groups playing on landscape will no longer benefit. I've already read that. Boy, I got my eyes just want to go back to that one. Yes. Sealed tracery boxes will once again deliver traceries to levels 45 through 49 characters. The items Tone of Greater Deed Acceleration and Slayer Deed Acceleration 60 minutes now last for 6 hours. Slayer Deed Accelerator has been renamed to Slayer Deed Accelerator 6. I'm wondering if they were afraid that this extension to the Deed Accelerators will encourage people to form these big, huge raids to go good deeds all over the place. And that's the reason
I
for it.
mean, that would have been kind of cool if it had, but like, you still would have had to have been creative because only every fourth one would have counted if you got 24 people going.
Well, yeah, that is that little detail.
One for you, one for you, two for me, one for you.
Yes. And the item Slayer and Skill Deeds boost 90 minutes now lasts for 6 hours, and the name has been updated to Slayer and Skill Deeds boost 6 hours.
You know, this does make more sense though for maybe the Lore Masters thing, since they didn't make it so that you log out faster if you go AFK. Like maybe that. I'm still failing to see how this would be a major benefit though, because like even if I went AFK in one spot with a Slayer deed boost going, the deed would be completed pretty fast, and it wouldn't make any sense to just go AFK. So I don't know. Yes, I'm going to stand here and kill these 3 mobs on repeat.
Name restrictions have been loosened around words similar to Defender, but there will continue to be strong restrictions to words like Needle.
You said Circus Tower, right?
Ooh.
Helm of Crystal Resolve no longer eclipse the tops of the Fellowship heads.
Boring.
Of the following
To the following heads, yes, to the following heads. Human male, dwarf, stout axe, and Bjorning male. Chestplate of Crystal Resolve has been adjusted to better fit hobbits. They got some tailors, I guess, to help with that.
It'd be cool if you couldn't even see their head when they were wearing it, you know?
Using LIXP runes for the rewards track now provides better indications of success, failure, and the related reasons.
Wait, you can like fail when you're using an LIXP rune?
Aw,
I have absolutely no idea how one fails in doing an LIXP rune.
I dropped it through the grate. Oh.
I mean, I'm currently failing because I'm stockpiling them because I can't use the stinking reward track. But like,
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to do it, you know, to like execute the whole stack, and only one works, you know?
now I'm like thinking maybe I'll just hold on to them forever if there's a chance of failure. I don't know.
Well, added an option to update your graphics display adapter from the V Options Repair tab on the game launcher. If the game client doesn't appear to start and there is no error of any kind, please take a look at this option. For those familiar with the workaround of setting the display adapter value to the user preference in the user preference.ini, this is intended to be a supported way of setting that value. Right? Improved messaging for when the worlds are down. Improved the backend around the chat system, which should reduce frequency of disconnections.
Maybe that's why we can't have raid chat anymore on Landscape and still do anything.
Oh well. And added an Embers of Enchantment barter to the Hidden Hoard of Nakara. In order to acquire a piece of gear from the barter, you will need to have had completion deeds for the following where the gear is introduced. Below is a breakdown. T1, jewelry, neck pocket, or off items. T2, jewelry, rings, earrings, feet. And T3, legs, chest, and shoulders. And T4, hands, cloak. And also, there's a known issue that training Audacity as a creep from 35 to 36 will offer the player to train to 37. You cannot train beyond 36. If you log out and log back in, the issue is resolved. Now, one item that is not in here, now there are other items I think other people were noting, but one item that I noticed is they did something with the player portraits. I don't know whether they changed the portrait frames, or if they changed the portraits themselves and that they're taking a larger spot so that they're cutting off the frame. I think the latter is what I'm now thinking. And as a result of this, the inner border that you used to have on the portrait frames is now covered up. So you can't see that inner border anymore. I noticed that on elite mobs, they're cutting out the elite symbol, even though it looks like it's the exact same frame. It's just that the bottom of it is covered off. It just looks so strange now on the elite portrait frame because of the way it's cut out, and the eye is cut a little bit. So that's something that I noticed in here. I have absolutely no idea what they did or anything like that. I think that maybe they increased the size of the player portraits or
That
something
key
like
to
that.
value,
Yeah. But anyway, that's it for the updates. It took us only an hour to do it, right? So
And a lifetime to deal with.
That's right.
And they also gave a notice that they have introduced a new item in here. Rivendell-themed supporter packs have arrived. Since the settling of Imladris in the Second Age, the garb of the keepers of Rivendell have been worn by even those sworn to defend the secrets of the elves' last refuge in Eriador. Now you may clad yourself in their armor, wield their weapons, and ride their steeds. Choose the bundle that's right for you and upgrade at any time. Now, you may say, what in the world is a supporter pack? Essentially, what these seem to be is that if you pay the base price, this essentially is paying the base price for a LOTRO coins purchase, and you get these things put on top of it. Because I noticed that the number of LOTRO points that it gives you whenever you buy one of these is the same as the LOTRO points you would have gotten is if you did a purchase of LOTRO points for it. So, for example, the highest one, 99.99, gets you 11,000 LOTRO points as your starting thing in there. Well, that's the number of LOTRO points that you can currently get for 99.99 if LOTRO points aren't on sale or anything, or you're not on a double points weekend or something like that. So it's essentially something to encourage people to buy LOTRO points, it sounds like. Or at least buying them when they're not so, because I have a feeling that these aren't going to go at sale at the same time that LOTRO points are going on sale or anything like that. There are three levels of these. You have the simple supporter pack, where for $34.99 you can get 3,500 LOTRO points, which I think is slightly better than the baseline on LOTRO points. Ceremonial Sword of Rivendell, Weapon Aura of Spirit's Passage, Violet, Title Patrician of Rivendell, and a simple Rivendell portrait frame. even though the portrait frame is going to be cut off due to the things that because the portrait frames they are showing in their picture here are not being cut off. And I have a feeling that if you actually bought one of these, you will see a cut off portrait frame. Because I see the inner border in there. I don't think that inner border is going to appear under the current situation. If you spend $59.99, you get 6,300 LOTRO points, along with a ceremonial sword of Rivendell, which I talked about before, and the weapon aura of the Spirit's Passage, the Patrician of Rivendell title, the simple Rivendell portrait frame, plus you get a Starling cosmetic pet, the title Gallant of Rivendell, an enchanted Rivendell portrait frame, and the ceremonial garb of Rivendell. So you get a fancier portrait frame that's going to be cut off on the inside, and a Starling is pretty much what you get for that. And for $99.99, you get, as I said before, 11,000 LOTRO points. And, of course, you get all those things I talked about before for the first two packages, plus you get the enhanced Rivendell portrait. The enhanced you got before. So when you garb of Rivendell, you got before. Oh, honored steed of Rivendell. So you get a steed. You get the title exemplar of Rivendell. You get the luxuriant Rivendell supporter frame and the Rivendell war mount dressage. So those are the items that you get if you for each of these supporter packs. I have no idea if any of you happen to be getting ready to buy a bunch of LOTRO points and decided to buy one of these supporter packs or not.
It would have been so cool if that sword, you could have dyed it and made it any color you wanted.
It sounds like Lunori Stoutshield said that he's praying for the big pack.
And has no regrets.
It has no regrets.
So does the horse have a war steed component to it?
If you get the highest tier, the War Steed cosmetics are included. It's on the list of stuff.
Cool. Okay.
That's what they mean by Rivendell War Mount Dressage?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Very well. So,
I mean, as long as you're going to be buying points anyway, if you don't have that and you're interested in the appearances, you might as well buy the supporter pack because then you get the extra shinies.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just wondering, this Starling, is this going to be one of those annoying Starlings that constantly talks?
Couldn't answer to that.
Yeah. That's just wondering as
Pine, they're called songbirds. I mean, come on. They're supposed to sing.
yeah, it's just I just want to make sure that that this particular bird is not going to be doing things like mimicking orcs or anything like that, because starlings are very infamous mimics.
Would you like that pan seared?
Yes. Oh, that's right. You should imagine your starling saying, "When you want this pan seared?"
No, I totally want a bird that's going to do that. Maybe they could give them to monster players.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Like a magpie or something that seems a little more sinister, or one of the corvids. Yeah, that would just say that.
Yeah, yes, yes, a Kraban that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also a possibility in there. And anyway, those are the options on the supporter packs that you can get. As already been said, if you're going to be buying LOTRO points anyway, then it's something that you could consider. Unless, of course, you think, no, I don't want any more things appearing in my inventory. Which, considering the number of things that pop into my inventory when I create a new character, I could understand. They have noted that apparently there were some new Spider Weaver skins that was available for this particular update, but this has been updated because apparently the new skin was too close to an already existing skin. Oops. So we can see what would happen. I presume that eventually they are going to find a new skin, which we hope does not match an already existing skin in any way.
We base this on Matham.
Yes. Now, and we've already talked about the unable to repeat the further adventures of at this time. So therefore, let us head to the store sales. And we're in this. What's on sale this week?
This week we have summer sales continuing. It is crafting stuff, 35% off crafting boosts, 50% off rare crafting component selection boxes, and 75% off on the Gondorian Scholars Study Set. There's also the better sale, in my opinion, the regular weekly sale, Store, Carry, and Share, 20% off vault storage and shared storage, inventory slots. That's through the July the 28th, if you have room to buy any more. And the weekly coupon is a free Skill and Slayer deed boost now for 6 hours with the coupon code Skill and Slay. That's AND all spelled out. Skill and Slay through the 28th of July for all of these.
Hey, thank you. So with all that done, it's now time for us to head into our week in gaming. And Krister, what were you up to?
Well, we had overall we had a successful night last night with our T2 HH Hidden Horde Boss 1 endeavor. And what was really, really cool about our victory last night was that we ended up being 3 people down. About, I want to say probably about roughly. No, it was after. I'd say it's after we had the first of the 3 down that we ended up being 3 down, but we managed to actually get through and kill the other 2 before oh no, I'm sorry. We did exceed the rage timer. However, we survived the rage timer until we killed them. And so that was very satisfying to see that. Unfortunately, we were severely handicapped by a brawler. Sorry, Python. No, but it went great. I was very happy with how it went. Even when we were down a couple of people, we still managed to pull it off. And so now our true challenge now is shaping up to be Boss 2. However, we had two of our old time kinmates with us, and both of them have done the raid at a higher tier, and their advice and tactics were definitely worth listening to, and we did a really good job. There was a point with Boss 2 where I think we really felt like we had it, but it just kind of spun out of control, and when it got out of control there, it's out of control is if you don't get it back under control, you're dead. So that was unfortunately what happened, but overall the endeavor was a great success. So other than that, getting excited about doing the next one on next Friday. My exploding orc has now accomplished all of his gambling goals. He's pretty much comped at every major resort across Tamriel now. So he's just gone back to running through various delves and exploding and having a great time. And then, of course, my voxel circuits were activated with Minecraft. So now I've been tinkering with Minecraft and Starship Evo a lot this week as well. So, Guerre, what were you up to?
Well, in Lotro, I spent more time catching up my Valard brawler. Sodessa went from the Paths of the Dead and through all of Blackroot Vale and Kellumbell and made it as far as Tadrint before I logged out. So more to do there, but I don't know why. I have only went through Gondor before once, so I'm just kind of enjoying the story and raffle stomping across the landscape. In ESO, I have a third character now at level 50, 160 CP. Enjoying healing on my Argonian, trying to do a lot of stuff with the Undaunted delves and such to get that leveled up because I want a skill that I need like 2 more levels for. I'm looking for volunteers, but other than that, not too much more. Sans, what did you get up to?
Well, I killed some roving threats and caught a treasure Bugan on the field trip, and that was pretty fun. Minus some of the frustrating raid portions. And I ran a public dungeon with you and Lenore in ESO, and that was fun too. And even though my inventory got full a lot of times, I got the accomplishment. I got like 2 skill points and like 3 champion points out of it. It was awesome. And then I unlocked some new raids in Final Fantasy XIV and finished the level 60 Hildebrand quests, which were a lot of fun, and I can now pose most gentlemanly, including a little gleaming smile star sparkle thing. It's fun. How was your week, Pineleaf?
I'll begin with the field trip where we went into the Barrel Downs in order to thwart some Bugans. We managed to get on one. One of the things that we did on that was to experiment what they meant by being able to of needing to kill a Bugan on level Bugans or stuff like this. So what we eventually found out is we were running at level, I think, what were we at? Something like 40. We were running at 44 or something like that. I think we were running 44. We had one character in the party who was 45, and everybody else was somewhere in the ranging from 40 to about 43 or something like that. So we were running the dungeon there. We came to the room where you had the caller who brings out the worms and summons all those silly things in there. And we finally cleared out that room. I was going around burning those things that take forever to set on fire. Why does it have to take 10 minutes to set all those things on fire? I don't know. But that's the time in which the Bugan chose to show up. So I learned this. I immediately ran towards the rest of the party because they were way on the other side of the room, and I managed to get there just before the Bugan died. And the reason why that's important is because that means I got there, I was able to trigger the thing that says kill the Bugan. Because I suspect that if it did not trigger that, I would not have gotten credit for killing the Bugan, and I wouldn't have gotten my Bugan coins. Now, the person, Sam, I believe it was, who was at level 45, he was level 45, and he did not get that quest advancement to say kill a Bugan. That auto granted quest says kill a Bugan, and of course it did not complete. So it looks like then that the Bugan will appear regardless of level, or maybe if at least one person is of appropriate level, but that anyone who's above level will not get credit for killing the Bugan and completing the quest in that particular instance. At least that's what it looks like. And just remember, we have a sample set of 1 on how it looked like it was going on there. So it's not exactly what you call a thorough experimentation, but that sounds like what was going on in there. So that's what it seems like it means by defeating Bugans at, that are your level. Also this week on my, on my character where I usually do all my missions for the first time, this is a character that is currently around 64, 65. This is rather 64, 65 character. But this is the character that pretty much leveled on missions. We're talking about a character that got the title for finishing all the Three Peaks missions. They got the highest title on there. I forgot what all those rank names are for that they had in the War of Three Peaks for completing missions and all that stuff. That's when I managed to get that top rank at level 20. But after I did that, I took off the Tortoise Stone, and I've been, I think, mainly leveling on missions on that particular character. So whenever a new set of missions will come out, I would run the missions on that character and wind up eventually getting it about the level 64 right now. Now, it so happens that there is a trip, since it says it goes into LOTRO at that point. So I was wondering, what happens if you come in here under leveled or something like this? Now, I so happen to be right at the LOTRO level on there. So I was, of course, starting these for LOTRO and all that stuff. I got halfway through, I think, the Kill Beast Steed in LOTRO just by doing one of the missions that's within the further adventures in there, because we were killing wolves inside of LOTRO. So that says that, but I suspect that only happens if you have to be around level or something like this. But I was wondering, is there any stops anywhere that you could wind up getting attacked if you were level 20 in doing this? Because one of the stopovers that they have is in Echad Eregion, and I could just imagine mobs all over Echad Eregion say, "Hey, there's a level 20 here. Let's go and have dinner." I suppose I should take a level 20 into this particular item and see if anything untoward happens by doing that. And wondering, is there anything in Lothlorien that would take exception to a level 20 character, like maybe a shrew? Could you imagine a shrew charging you out of nowhere inside of Lothlorien? So yes, I finished up the further adventures of Illidan and Ilro here in that case. And I didn't run into any real bad things because I happened to be right at the level of Lothlorien on that character. And over in DDO, my Tabaxi finished the journey through the Isle of Dread, where I've fought such classic dinosaurs such as a T-Rex and a Triceratops. And that's it for my week in LOTRO and DDO. We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you go to the Nation's page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. We have no emails this week. If you'd like to send one, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda at Senswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, Calibathian at Calibathian, and Krister at Entropy Engine 1. The Players Alliance has two shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have LOTRO Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. And that is all for night, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.